all my whole war experience was in two parts. One part was training. They sent me everywhere to train me for amphibious duty,
Mm-hmm.
and the other half was the war itself. That's when I got on board the ship.
Okay.
And then I got on a ship that had just come back from Iwo Jima, and a whole bunch of guys killed on board the ship, and so they had to be replaced, and I was one of the replacements that went in there. And I was in the boat crews, and practically all the guys that got killed in Iwo Jima were on the boat crew. Were in the boat crews because we took the Marines into the beach, and that's where all the ship was out here, pretty safe. But when you went in there, and so we lost a lot of guys going in and coming back. So anyway, I replaced one of the guys that was killed on the boat crew, and I stayed in that boat crew the whole war. And I only had one battle experience. The ship went to Okinawa, and so I was in Okinawa, and so that, for me, that was the war, the Marine War. The rest of the time, we were traveling around and ferrying people here, taking Marines, tired and wounded Marines from wherever they were wounded, and took them back to Los Angeles or to it was San Francisco. They went there. There was a hospital there that they took them to. I never left the Pacific.
Oh, okay.
The only time I left the Pacific was when they were going to discharge me, and our ship went through the Panama Canal up to Norfolk, Virginia,
Okay.
and they sent me home from there. I was still in the Navy, and then I lived in New York City, and then I was discharged in New York. But anyway, we were in the armada that was going to invade Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And then they dropped the A-bombs, and that was called off.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never forget this. Our ship was in Manila Bay, and early in the morning, they got us up, and the whole ship went on the emergency, I forget, battle stations, and we went out of Manila Bay, out into the ocean outside of the Philippines, and when I went out and I looked around, I'll bet you there must have been 10,000 ships. Really. I could have walked across. I could have walked from the Philippines to Tokyo on these
ships.
There were so many ships. I've never seen that. And then we all took off. And this whole armada is, I don't know, a lot of guys would have been killed.
Yeah.
So when they decided to drop that A-bomb, they dropped the two. Everything stopped, and they all went in different directions.
Everybody went back where they were.
We went back to the Philippines, and we were there for a short while. And then when they did the signing of the peace on the battleship with MacArthur and everybody else there, our ship was down in the southern tip of Japan in a place called Sasebo. Never forget Sasebo. And we did a peace signing on our ship. Because one of the islands, they had all the Japanese had these islands, but this island, Sasebo, must have been the capital. And I remember that the Japanese came aboard all dressed up, and we signed the peace treaty. And then We did a couple of tours bringing Marines back, and then we went to Tokyo. And we went to, let's see, one bomb was dropped on Nagasaki
Hiroshima.
and Hiroshima.
Yeah.
And I went to Hiroshima.
Oh, really?
I actually, myself and some of the guys and a couple of officers took us.
How was that?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. The only thing you saw were chimneys. Nothing else. There wasn't anything. Anything that was brick and close to the ground stood up, but everything else was just gone.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. But finished my sea duty and got discharged. And like I said, the only time that I was actually
In battle.
was Okinawa, and that's where they had the kamikazes.
Mm-hmm.
Okinawa was the real bad. There were over 50,000 sailors killed.
Wow.
I mean, it was really bad. But this is unbelievable. Around 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock, the Japanese would come.
Mm-hmm.
So before that, we in the boat crews had a job, and the job was to make smoke. In the stern of our boat, it's a landing. You've probably seen them in the movies. It's a long boat with the front end drops down, and the Marines run out.
Mm-hmm.
Well, in the back, there's a platform there, and on that platform, there's a tank of gasoline, and which we light up, and then there's a canister that's about this high and this big around, and running through, there's coils in there, running through those coils is oil. And we
So basically
at a certain
heats-
time you light the gasoline, and the gasoline heats the oil,
The
and
oils.
smoke
Mhm.
comes out, and then our boat goes around ships, battleships, anything that they deem to be important to have the smoke. We hide it in the smoke. So
Mhm.
when the Japanese come and they come down,
They can't tell where.
they can't tell what's who's who or what's what, etc. So that worked pretty good. The only problem was that when you ran out of gasoline, they had a gasoline can there, and I was the machinist mate, and it was my job to keep that smoke pot going. And remember, this boat's going like this, and I have to take that gasoline can and fill the gasoline in the
That's burning.
smoke deal. So I never had an accident. But
This-
you know what they gave me for protection from an accident? You never guess. A sharp knife. Because this thing is tied down to the stern with rope. And you just cut it and kick it
yeah.
over. American. Oh,
Somehow I don't think that OSHA would approve that today.
not today.
Just
Not today.
kick it over the
Not
side.
today. And I was the motor machinist mate. We had a coxswain, a motor machinist mate, and a deckhand. 3 guys manning take care of this boat. And my sole job is to keep the engine running.
Hmm.
So I don't have to do any work, but I used to, help anyway. But there was a box. It was a box that was a square box about the size of that tile and about this deep. And one day I opened it up and it was full of hand grenades. And I used to sit there all the time. I used to sit on that goddamn box when we were going from one place to another. That's where I sat. and there was a 45 pistol that the what do they call that grease that they put on it? Anyway, and it still had the grease on it. Hadn't been cleaned, nothing. It was just sitting in the box with hand grenades and this one gun. I never used them, you know, and sometimes in the evening when it was darker, we would go out on patrol because every once in a while, Japanese that were on that island would get one of the Philippine people had these canoes and they used to go from one place to the other along the coast, and the Japanese used to take these goddamn things and they used to go to where all of the battleships and all the ships are, and plant bombs if they could get up to the ship. So our job was to go around our ship only. That was the only one I had.
Just make sure nobody
was
was.
go around and around and around. And I used to think, if we see one of these goddamn things, what am I going to do? We don't have any guns? No. I didn't know there were hand grenades in the goddamn box.
Well,
And there weren't any guns on board that I know. We didn't have. There were
you
three
gonna
of us.
yell at them?
Yeah, I guess you can yell at them or run them down.
Well, they probably have. They probably have.
They probably have something.
Yeah.
But that was, sometimes I wondered about how the hell we ever won the war. I guess those two bombs did it. Tom took Nicholas and I to Lockheed because one of the airplanes that ferried a bomb, the name was Fifi.
Mm-hmm.
So they, Enola Gay and Fifi. Looked like just an ordinary airplane to me. Tom's father was a fighter pilot. He flew P-51s. And so Tom, because he's gung-ho for anything to do with the Air Force and things that tied in with his father, he collected. And in Corona, one of the gal named Sue lives in one of the houses, and she had a book. It was one of those table books that had pictures of airplanes with the artwork that was, the naked gals.
Mm-hmm. Oh, they, yeah.
Yeah, I forget what they call it.
It's,
But anyway, I told her about Tom and all that. But when her sister died, when Connie died, she cleaned out Connie's bedroom and she decided to give me the book. Well, I said, thank you very much, it was nice, etc. But it really didn't grab me, but I gave it to Tom. And he
loved it.
Pictures of the ships, of the airplanes that his father flew. And, Anyway, after that, the Korean War started, but by now I was too old. So I got out at the end of 45. And the Korean War was in 50, so 5 years have gone by, and I never got called. So I was lucky.